This video is brought to you by SteelSeries, who I'm very proud to say have just signed on as an official Shill Up channel partner. I'm very pumped about this, so stick around to the end of the video to learn more. Gamers! You guys see that Street Fighter 6 reveal? Our boy Ryu be thick. Turns out he and Kylo Ren have the same trainer. Plus he's got a beard now. Everyone's saying he got the Chris Redfield treatment, so I really hope they add in one of those Street Fighter 2 minigames, but instead of beating up a car, you beat up a boulder. Then the transformation to Chris would be complete. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the mighty crescendo of what is the most stacked February in the history of video games. Over the course of 7 days, we will become legend, become monarchs, become Elden Lords, become race car drivers, I guess. It's a week so stacked with releases that it feels like most other studios and publishers are laying low while they let FromSoft have their moment in the sun. Praise the sun. Still, plenty of juicy gaming news to get through, so let's get to it, shall we? Alright, let's start with that Nintendo news, since that broke just as last week's episode went live. Last week, Nintendo tweeted out the following, quote, "As of late March 2023, it will no longer be possible to make Nintendo eShop purchases from the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS family of systems," end quote. Now listen, everyone appreciates that the traffic on these storefronts is going to be very low these days, so decommissioning them isn't in and of itself a bad thing. Nintendo are a business, and they're going to weigh costs to run versus revenue, and they're going to make calls based on that, fair enough. The problem is that Nintendo makes no effort whatsoever to make these games available by other means, a point that they themselves admit in a section of their FAQ, quote, "We currently have no plans to offer classic content in other ways," end quote. And guess what? That line was actually deleted from their FAQ because everyone started bandying it about on social media as justification that they should pirate Nintendo games. Because yes, if you say to your customers that there is no legal means whatsoever for them to be able to procure your products, you make piracy of those products inevitable. And not only inevitable, but important. Games are art, games are history. Imagine if we couldn't get our hands on The Godfather, or Citizen Kane, or worse, Ghostbusters. Games are important cultural artifacts, the same way that films are, or books are, or paintings are. And so when a company that produces so many of them says, hey, you can't access these things anymore, people are very rightly going to be pissed off and then take matters into their own hands. This point was more than underscored by the Video Game History Foundation, which put out a JPEG roasting the Big N and condemning Nintendo's unwillingness to support institutional preservation of video games. Analysis from various outlets points to the number of total digital-only games to be yeeted from existence at around 1,000, which is not remotely acceptable. So yeah, if you want to play any of these old games, then I guess it's a pirate's life for you, and no one can get mad at you, except for maybe Nintendo's lawyers, who will throw you in jail. Literally. Just ask Gary Bowser, who just got sentenced to 40 months for running a Nintendo ROM site. Nintendo really do not mess around with this stuff, so buyer beware, I guess. Or not buyer, really. Speaking of Nintendo, sort of, there's rumors of a GoldenEye remaster being revealed soon-ish. The news comes from industry insider and VentureBeat reporter Jeff Grubb, who when speaking during his recent Grubb Snacks podcast said that the remaster does exist and that it'll be announced by Microsoft, even though the rights of the game are currently owned by Nintendo and Microsoft through their acquisition of Rare, and MGM, who own the rights to the Bond franchise. Quote, "I think that Microsoft is going to be the one who announces that first. I think the game is probably coming pretty soon. I'm thinking next couple of weeks," end quote. This is far from the first time this legendary title has been revived. There was that GoldenEye game from EA a while back, Rogue Agent. That wasn't great. There was an actual remaster of GoldenEye made for the Xbox. That was never released owing to a disagreement between rights holders. You can actually go and download the files for that now, should you choose and be able to find them, since that was all leaked last year. Anyway, I hope it's true. GoldenEye was awesome, but man, it has aged poorly. It would be nice to see how it plays with a modern touch-up. I'll keep you posted on further updates. Alright, let's do the Ubisoft block now, since there's a hell of a lot to cover here. This week, Ubisoft did one of their earnings calls where they crowed about how much money they made. For example, did you know that Assassin's Creed Valhalla has raked in over $1 billion in revenue? That's a lot of XP boosters, baby. As part of the earnings call, Ubisoft also outlined their slate of releases for the coming year, and it's a little skint. Titles confirmed for the next 12 months include Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, Mario Rabbids: Sparks of Hope, Skull and Bones, and, quote, more exciting games, end quote. No word on what those titles might be, other than the previously announced Tom Clancy's X Defiance, a free-to-play COD-like hero shooter thing, and Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland, which is all but confirmed to be a battle royale game of some description. So that isn't a massive lineup, and you gotta wonder how Ubisoft are planning to fill the gaps to keep shareholders happy. One answer seems to be converting Skull and Bones into a multiplayer first experience, which, you know, means more microtransactions generally speaking. This is a game that's been in development hell for years and was rebooted back in 2022. Now Ubisoft are describing it as, quote, a very promising new IP focusing on multiplayer first, so very consistent with our strategy to bring multiplayer competition and co-op first in a big open world with a great attractive fantasy, end quote. I mean, Sea of Thieves has done very well for itself since its launch, so it's possible that this is Ubisoft's take on that, but yeah, I really hope we get to get out of our ships and do stuff on land, because you couldn't do that in the build of Skull and Bones that I played years ago, and it was not that fun, to be honest with you. It was basically just the Assassin's Creed naval combat, but a standalone game, so I really hope it's moved a lot further from that in that time. Outside of that, Jason Schreier of Bloomberg filed a report revealing the existence of a new Assassin's Creed game to help fill out their release schedule while work continues on Assassin's Creed Infinity, the live service future of the franchise that nobody asked for, but we're getting anyway. This secret project is currently codenamed Rift, and it started out its life as an Assassin's Creed Valhalla expansion before being turned into a standalone title. It will star Basim, the assassin character from Valhalla. To quote Schreier, the game won't be a massive open world style role-playing game like previous recent entries, focusing instead more on stealth gameplay, and is planned for later this year or 2023, end quote. The final piece of news is in relation to the MIA Beyond Good and Evil 2, which seems to be teetering dangerously on the precipice of vaporware. The same article from Schreier says that 5 years into development, the game is still in pre-production, which basically means that they haven't really started the proper full development work yet. They're kind of just like planning out what they are going to do, which lines up with what I've heard from my sources at Ubisoft. You really have to wonder at what point Ubi pull the plug on this one and just eat the sunk cost. As I've said before, I don't expect this one will ever see the light of day, but I guess we'll see. A quick note for those still struggling to get through the excellent Sifu. When I reviewed the game, I was like, I'm not sure most people will be able to do this. I was correct. Many people are loving the game, but just can't make their way through. It's too tough. Help is on the way though, as this week the developer revealed that additional accessibility options were coming in, like a high contrast mode for those with a vision impairment, as well as difficulty modes, including both an easy mode and a hard mode. I certainly would not want to make Sifu any harder than it already is, but if you're a masochist, then that's for you, I guess. Twitter was awash with bad takes about how Sifu is now ruined because there is an easy mode. People literally tweeted, oh, I was gonna buy this game, but now I'm not. I mean, you can just play it on normal, dude. It doesn't change anything. I fail to see how this game is ruined because of that. Ridiculous. Anyway, let's move on. Alright, let's dunk on Battlefield 2042 for a bit. That's always fun. This week it was revealed that the disastrous launch of the game could be attributed to one thing: Halo Infinite. I kid, but sort of not. This week, DICE insider Tom Henderson reported on the output of a town hall held at EA DICE, where the top brass essentially admitted that the game was a flop, and they began the process of sifting through the wreckage to find the black box that could explain this mess. Like, how could it have gone so wrong? The beta was in such good shape, everyone was so excited, no one could have seen this coming, right? Yeah, right. The report would detail that DICE identified some technical issues, but they were inside the regular tolerance levels, laughable by the way, and that they were getting great feedback from sections of the community, also pretty laughable to be honest. The real zinger was when Laura Miele, EA's chief studio officer, said that Halo Infinite hurt Battlefield because, and I'm quoting Tom Henderson here, quote, Halo Infinite was a very polished title, whereas Battlefield 2042 contained bugs and wasn't as polished, end quote. I mean, that's a pretty shitty thing to say, like, oh look, 343 shipped a functional product, so of course people were gonna compare it to our broken piece of shit and be like, what gives, DICE? Later, EA would respond to this leak by saying that they did not blame Halo for Battlefield's reception, saying to PC Gamer, quote, these stories are not accurately capturing the discussion and the context, which was an in-depth and very humble internal conversation about the recent Battlefield launch. It was about key learnings and actions we are taking, not blaming external factors, end quote. I mean, yeah, but like, they didn't say that quote was made up or anything, so it kind of confirms that something like that was said. Outside of that, it's just genuinely frustrating to see EA DICE do this dance when every single person who played that beta, who knew anything about video games, was like, delay this game, it is not ready. So to see them feign surprise and try to reframe the narrative is just ridiculous. DICE have no one to blame for this but the leadership team who forced this game out before it was ready, and with a player count averaging around 2,700 concurrent players on Steam, it's the Battlefield community who end up paying the price for that decision. While the MCU trundles into its, 18th phase or something, Hollywood has decided that the next big thing are video game adaptations, and so far it's been a bit of a mixed bag. We got the Sonic movie some time back. I remember reviewing this one before it released, and I was like, this totally rules, and no one believed me. Everyone was like, dude, shut the fuck up, this can't be good. But then everyone saw it, and they were like, yep, this totally rules. There's a sequel on the way for that one soon, but this week a third Sonic movie was confirmed, even before the sequel has hit. This is in addition to a Knuckles spin-off TV show, which, yes, will star Idris Elba as Knuckles as well, so that's pretty cool. The Uncharted movie released last week. Reviews on that one are a little mid, sadly. As much as we all love Tom Holland, I just don't think he's Nathan Drake, and Marky Mark certainly isn't Sully. Jesus, what the hell was that casting unit thinking? Anyway, it's unlikely to slow down Sony, who have big plans for video game adaptations, including rumors of Destiny movies and TV shows following their acquisition of Bungle. Here's a surprise though, we're getting a BioShock movie. Now this isn't the BioShock movie that was announced back in 2008 or whatever, obviously. That project fell apart long ago, but this week Netflix announced that it had reached an agreement with 2K and Take-Two to make a movie based on the franchise. No details were given, so we don't know if this is based on BioShock 1 or 2, or perhaps BioShock Infinite, or maybe even the new BioShock game currently in development at Cloud Chamber. If I was a betting man, I'd bet pretty large on this one being based on the original game though. Rapture is just too good not to bring to the big screen. The other TV project in the offing is the Halo TV show, which launches next month on Paramount+. Paramount+, it's a mountain of entertainment. You don't even need to make jokes about that tagline. You just say it aloud and it's already funny. Anyway, the people who wrote the original Halo music, Marty O'Donnell and Mike Salvatore, are suing Microsoft, saying that they're owed unpaid royalties for the use of the music. The case has been bubbling away since 2020, and a date for mediation is set this week. In a bold move that's sure to get everyone's attention, O'Donnell and Salvatore have instructed their lawyers to explore the possibility of blocking the release of the upcoming TV show with a preliminary injunction. Personally, I think there should be an injunction against this rendition of Cortana, but that's just me. Alright, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, No Fucking Thanks. And it's mostly good news this week for a change. We'll do the bad news first. You won't believe this, but Take-Two Interactive are interested in NFTs. I know, shocking, right? How could the company that released the GTA Trilogy remaster be anything less than entirely scrupulous? By the way, did you guys see that those remasters sold over 10 million units and significantly exceeded Take-Two's expectations, proving once and for all that everything I say and do on this channel is utterly pointless? Anyway, Take-Two CEO and Stretch Armstrong before the accident, Strauss Zelnick, spoke to his investors this week, and he said that he is, quote, highly convinced that there is an opportunity for NFTs to fit with Take-Two's offerings in the future, end quote. So yeah, we can absolutely expect some sort of NFT bullshit in GTA 6, so long as the scam hasn't run out of puff by then. One developer is holding firm against the NFT onslaught, even as his CEO lays bare his nefarious plans for an NFT takeover. I'm talking about Final Fantasy XIV director Yoshi P, who this week, when speaking as part of a live stream, addressed questions about the potential of NFTs arriving in Eorzea. It's a relevant question as the Square Enix CEO put out a really grim letter on New Year's Day of all days to announce that he was planning to send Squeenix balls deep into NFT territory. Yoshi P, absolute god emperor that he is, was quick to allay our concerns. Quote, I did mention it earlier, but based on how Final Fantasy XIV is designed, we don't intend on incorporating any NFT element in the game at this point. So if anybody is worried or concerned about it, I can clearly state at this time, we do not have any intentions to incorporate that into the game, end quote. Obviously, this is far from a definitive statement, but it's the best he can manage. At the end of the day, he answers to both his CEO and his shareholders, and if they decide it's going to happen, then that sucks, but Yoshi P's power has its limits. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. The tremendous goodwill that Final Fantasy XIV has cultivated over the past decade may not be entirely washed away with an NFT announcement, but it will certainly take a pretty massive and needless hit, and that would be a crying shame. The best NFT news this week came out of Platinum Games, who are in the headlines a lot this week as they talk potential acquisitions, the possible revival of Scalebound, and more. In one interview, company president Atsushi Inaba was asked about his thoughts on NFTs, and he gave an awesome response, quote, we haven't really been thinking about that. I understand it's a hot topic right now and it's really starting to gain momentum, but the way it's gained momentum has been focused on profitability for the company, with no positive impact on the creators or the users in any sense. Yes, exactly, thank you. So that's frustrating to see happen. The people who are trying to promote NFTs and partner with gaming companies, their conversations seem extremely one-sided. Hey, you're gonna make money, but how does it benefit the user or the creator? If you want to spend my time on something, I want it to benefit making good games, end quote. God, it is so refreshing to hear a developer talk like this. The interviewer then asked a follow-up question about how quickly Konami adopted NFTs, to which Platinum Vice President Hideki Kamiya responded, quote, "Not really. If it smells like money, Konami's gonna be there in a heartbeat," end quote. What an absolute fucking legend. So, what got announced or delayed this week? Well, essentially nothing. It's like every other game studio is so scared of Elden Ring's impending release that they dare not even speak about their own video games, for fear it will be subsumed by the Elden Ring hype beast. Fair enough, I guess. One game had courage enough to show its face, Anno Mutationum, which got a release date announcement for the 17th of March, releasing exclusive to the PlayStation consoles and PC. Now, I actually played this one a while back during the Steam Next Fest, and I gotta say, I loved this. Obviously, its pixel art cyberpunk visuals are particularly fetch, but the game also played pretty damn well. A straightforward 2D beat 'em up with some simple but effective controls that got the job done. I suspect you'll be playing this one more for the aesthetic and the story than for the gameplay though, which is fine by me. There's actually a demo out for this right now on Steam, so if you want to check it out for yourself, now's your chance. So what came out last week, aka the review roundup? Well, there was a lot last week, but we actually covered most of the critical reception owing to the fact that review embargoes were nice and early for a change. King of Fighters, Total War, Warhammer 3, Horizon Forbidden West all hit last week to great critical acclaim, with Horizon Forbidden West in particular knocking people's socks off, mine included. Outside of that, the only thing to hit was the Cyberpunk Next Gen update, which was pushed out for free last week just as the show was being put together. If you were hoping that the patch would lead to another cacophony of bugs and glitches and Croby Cat videos, then I am sorry to disappoint you, but early reviews of the update are largely positive. From a graphical perspective, the patch does deliver on the promised 4K 60 as well as 4K 30 with ray tracing enabled, with overall stability and fidelity greatly improved across the board. Series S version got a little shafted, it's unable to hit 60 FPS or implement any ray tracing, but the big boy consoles are now handling Cyberpunk much better with some nice trimmings, and the gameplay rebalances like AI behavior, skill tree overhaul and more are very welcomed indeed. Cyberpunk will never be the game that was promised, but it's certainly a hell of a lot closer to that promise with this update. And if you haven't yet checked out Cyberpunk because you were waiting for bug fixes or whatever, then yeah, now looks to be the right time to jump in. So what's coming out this week? Not much really. Pretty quiet week. I think there's some new Call of Duty Warzone weapon skins coming out, so that's pretty exciting, I guess. That's pretty much it, really. A what? One of the most hyped, most eagerly anticipated games of the year drops this week. A new game from one of the most celebrated and influential developers of all time. A dark fantasy role-playing adventure set in an expansive world full of wondrous creatures to kill and scores of weapons and gear to collect. That's right! Destiny 2 Witch Queen does come out this week! Did you like that one? It was the Dark Souls of bait and switches. That's right, Destiny addicts. Our dealer's come to town and his sacks are stacked. The Witch Queen update promises to be Bungie's most ambitious to date, adding and removing a story-driven campaign, adding and removing playable spaces, adding and removing endgame content, overhauling the languishing Gambit mode, and glancing in the general direction of PvP, with the promise of new maps and new modes at some point in the future. Just don't ask for any specifics. I joke about Destiny's one step forward, one step back approach to content, but the bottom line is Destiny's here for a good time, not a long time, and it's a hell of a good time. I can't say yet whether or not new players should take up a Kvostock and join the fray, but I'm all but certain that existing players will be well serviced by this update, because Bungie have been on a roll lately, and there's very little reason to suspect they're about to break their winning streak here. The Witch Queen arrives today on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Stadia. Stadia. Monarch hits today, arriving on PlayStation, PC, and Switch. It's a turn-based JRPG that's met some middling reviews, currently sitting at 69 on OpenCritic. I find that these games are very much for their audiences, rather than for critics though, so if you're into this sort of thing, then definitely check it out. Don't forget that Steam has a 2-hour refund policy, so you can try before you buy. Edge of Eternity is that JRPG made in France I've mentioned a few times now. It's already hit every other platform, but tomorrow it arrives on the Switch if you'd prefer to play it on the go. Martha is Dead arrives on all platforms, but the Switch on the 24th. Now, this one has a story behind it, because you might have heard that one of these release versions isn't quite like the other, and that's because Sony have asked, or really forced, the developer to alter or remove scenes from the game before they would let it up on their storefront. The PC and Xbox versions are not subject to the same censorship, but Sony's is, and that's a shame. While Sony have the right as a platform holder to say what does and does not appear on their storefront, it's disappointing when they use that power to censor artists, because that's what games are, art. The backlash to this censorship has been universal. However, this is a small horror title and a lot of people just didn't hear about it, so Sony are just riding this one out. Bottom line, if you want to grab this one, then consider grabbing it on other platforms, as those are the only ones offering a complete experience the way the developer intended it. Grid Legends is a racing game releasing like the week before Gran Turismo and a few months after Forza Horizon. The category is becoming extremely competitive as top quality offerings abound. Admittedly, Codemasters are no slouch, so this is sure to be a solid offering as well. It's hitting all platforms but the Switch on the 24th. And finally it is here. Destiny 2, I'm joking. Elden Ring, my god, I can't believe it. Now listen, I am playing this right now. I am not allowed to say anything because I am under embargo, so please don't ask me what I think. As much as I am dying to tell you, I am literally not allowed to do so. And Bandai Namco do not mess around when it comes to that sort of stuff. I will have a review out on the embargo, the timing of which I cannot disclose, but it's this week, and if you would like to know the moment that that review is live, then all you need to do is hit the subscribe button, ding the notification bell, and then wait patiently, Tarnished, for your time has come. While you wait for Elden Ring, put this on your radar. This is Scathe, the debut title from newly formed Scottish developer Damaged State, and if you think it looks like Doom, then yeah, it definitely looks like Doom. That's okay though, Doom's art style was fucking cool, so if an indie team of 3 people want to use it as a jumping off point for their own project, then I say go for it. Scathe is obviously Doom-like, but it does have some crucial differences. First up, the developers describe it as a bullet hell, which, yeah, you can see from the trailer, there's plenty of projectiles to dodge, so that looks cool. Critically, it supports co-op multiplayer, and that's awesome. I mean, I can see how Doom 2016 and Eternal are designed for solo play, but I think we can all agree that it would have been cool for some sort of co-op Doom experience. While Scathe is unlikely to rival Doom's production values, polish, or soundtrack, hopefully it's just some cool bullet-dodging, demon-shooting co-op fun. If it can deliver that, then I say mission accomplished. Scathe is angling for a 2022 release actually, so if you'd like to wishlist it, I'll leave a link to the Steam page below. Sort of free stuff time, and there's almost nothing this week, but for 2 exceptions. The first is Epic Games, who right now are giving away the moving, co-op narrative-driven Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. But on the 25th, that'll tick over to Chris Tales. Now this one released last year, it's an indie title. I played through the demo during the Steam Next Fest, and I liked it. Its art style is putting in the work, but the central mechanic is a time dilation one that splits the screen in 3 so you can always see the past, present, and future. And in combat, you can move back and forth through time, so you can say, pour some water on an enemy shield in the past, and that shield becomes rusty and brittle in the future. That's cool. The game isn't likely to blow you away, but it's nice, it's cute, and thanks to Uncle Tim, it's free. One last question to finish up this block, and it's a serious one, so forgive the, sudden tone shift, but did you know that the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV has a free trial that includes the entirety of A Realm Reborn and the award-winning Heavensward expansion up to level 60 with no restrictions on playtime? Oh, what's that you say? It's disabled at the moment due to server congestion? Well, not anymore. Commencing today, the greatest free trial of all time is once again available to the masses as Final Fantasy XIV server population stabilizes after what was a very, very crowded launch. I know we all like to meme about this free trial and its ubiquitous copy pasta, but for real, it's literally hundreds of hours of high quality storytelling and gameplay for absolutely free. There's a reason that people talk about Final Fantasy XIV the way they do, and if you're at all interested to find out why, then this is absolutely a no-brainer. Our feel-good story for the week is an old one in every sense of the word. It's a story that's been doing the rounds for a little while now, months, years, decades in fact, and there's a good reason for that. The people at the center of it have been around for decades themselves. Meet the Matagi Snipers, Japan's first seniors esports professional team. It's a team of 8 people ranging from ages 66 to 73, 21 people applied to get into the team, but only 8 made it through. Interestingly enough, not everyone who made the team was a gamer. One squad member by the name of Eba said that, quote, "Up until now, I never played video games," end quote. And now she's on a pro team with like a Razer sponsorship or some shit. I wonder if they tried to get G Fuel sponsors but were declined for fear the product would like give them all heart attacks. These guys practice 3 days a week and they're going to start streaming in October. I predict these streams are going to be fucking huge. It's going to get that kind of Bob Ross wholesome crowd thing going on where people just pile in to be all positive and supportive and happy. Love it. I like this story because it gives me hope. I mean, I've still got a ways to go, but one day, that's me up there. That's all of us up there. And if I can find an old folks home that has an esports program, well, I'm going to be more likely to stick around for a few more years. Better than watching Bold and the Beautiful, which I'm sure will also still be running at that time. Alright, that's the show, but before we go, 2 things. First up, the video. If you liked it, smash the like button like it's the launch button for Elden Ring on Steam. Who knows, maybe if you press the like button, maybe Elden Ring will suddenly appear on your screen and you can start playing it right now. Probably not, but it's worth a try. Secondly, the Elden Ring review is live this week, but I'm not yet allowed to say when, so please do subscribe to the channel and do ding the notification bell so you'll know the split second that video is live. That's going to be spoiler free, so very safe to listen to if you prefer. Can't wait to share that one with you. And finally, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you'll have noticed that SteelSeries and I have been flirting back and forth for a little while. I'm pleased to announce that SteelSeries have finally put a ring on it, and that SteelSeries is now an official Shill Up channel partner. Or I'm a SteelSeries partner, I'm not sure. But the point is, we're doing stuff together, and I'm very happy about it. I switched over to SteelSeries kit last year, my keyboard, my mouse, my PC headset, and the headset for my consoles. It was a big change since it had been many years since I'd done a peripherals refresh, but man, SteelSeries kit is the real deal. The keyboard feels so nice to use, the mouse is super light, responsive and reliable. The headset is a real highlight. Awesome fit, adjustable top strap, industry-leading sound quality, an external DAC that you can plug other sound sources into. You can sync it with your phone at the same time as you're using it on your PC so you can take calls on it. And it comes with a spare battery that charges in the DAC so you can immediately hot swap to it whenever you need. This thing was a really, really big upgrade when I got my hands on it. So yeah, officially partnered with SteelSeries now, which I'm very happy about since that means a few things. First up, they let me in on a few upcoming product releases, which I can't talk about yet, but believe me, you guys are going to love those. Secondly, I get a discount code which works globally and it gives you 12% off any purchase. That discount code is SkillUp. That's going to work all year round, so if at some point in the future you want to grab some SteelSeries kit, then you get a tidy discount. You're going to hear plenty more about SteelSeries over the coming years, so consider this just a taster. I'm looking forward to it, and if you're ever in the market for premium PC or console peripherals, then I really recommend checking SteelSeries kit out. I use it, I think it's awesome, I think you'll love it too. To check out their range of products, be sure to click the link below, and don't forget to use offer code SkillUp at checkout. Thanks SteelSeries for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.